When starting your search, it might be tricky to decide whether or not to start using a subject database available through UCF libraries or using a search engine such as Google. Let's take a few minutes to review the pros and cons to each approach. Subject databases look for information in selected sources. They can be more efficient than using a Google search because the sources are organized by subject area, so you can search on specific topics. In many cases, these sources are reviewed for accuracy, which ensures they are reliable. And finally, it's important to note that these have been purchased especially for students to have access to academic resources. These aren't freely available to the general public. Examples of these resources include scholarly journal articles and conference papers. Subject databases also include more general resources such as newspaper and magazine articles. When searching with Google, it looks for information on millions of web pages. By searching multiple websites, your search is broader, and it might be a less efficient way to search because the sources are not organized or focused by topic. It can include a mixture of both reliable and unreliable information because there's no way to see what has been reviewed for accuracy. These resources are also not always free. In many cases, you're asked to pay to see the entire text of an academic journal article when accessing it through Google. Examples of some common resources that you might find in your search result are business websites, personal websites, blogs, wikis, posts on social media, and then websites from government, nonprofit, or educational institutions. So one thing to be aware of is that subject databases don't always include 100% accurate information. They can just be a better bet when looking for an authoritative resource. Why is this the case? As mentioned earlier, subject databases aggregate information from a number of sources, and some of these are not scholarly or peer-reviewed journals. However, many databases do include a checkbox, which allows you to limit your search to just peer-reviewed sources. And remember, any resource you use should be evaluated to determine if it is appropriate for your research. Another strategy you consider is going to Google first. In some cases, it may be simpler to start with Google or perhaps Google Scholar to help with brainstorming keywords and locating potential resources. If you start in this direction, here are a couple of tips. First of all, if you are asked to pay for an article, check to see if it is available through the UCF libraries. Secondly, you need to pay extra attention and ensure that the information or resource is authoritative for your subject. This is so important. Let's say it one more time. Any resource you use should be evaluated to determine if it is appropriate for your research. Just because you locate it in either a subject database or on Google doesn't mean that it's going to meet your needs for your particular project. So always have that extra lens where you can say why you've chosen a specific resource.